Some local Honeycrisp growers are picking their Honeycrisp already. I found, whether it's because my trees don't get enough sunlight or as much as theirs, but I found early October, about 2 weeks from now, they'll be a lot sweeter. Well, here we are in the cabin orchard, September 13th, I believe, Friday, and the Honeycrisp are getting colored. We've had some cool nights. It was about 40 last night. It's going to be about 35 tonight. So the coloring is coming really well on the Honeycrisp, as you can see. And this tree didn't have much fruit this year, but the apples are getting really big, so it looks pretty nice. This here, a gala tree. The idea for this orchard was to be a habitat to bring deer in near for hunting and for cameras and things, and it's pretty well succeeded. As you can see, the apples are big enough now that they're growing over top of the fences, and the deer are pulling the limbs down and stripping all the leaves off. So it's working. They're getting some food. I'm getting some venison. They've stripped all these branches off here, and whatever fruit came with them. But as the lower branches get killed or I prune them off, upper branches are bending down low. This is down to about 6 foot right now, and next year with a heavier crop it'll be down lower. So it's working pretty well. The deer get what they need, and so do I. I think I'm going to replace the Lady Jean over here. I think it's pretty much dead. It went dormant or died, and the apples are very small. I guess I can do a taste test. It wouldn't really be fair. That's a pretty small apple, size of a crab apple. Still tastes green. This tree was girded about 90% around the bottom. So I'll probably plant a new tree here, maybe a sweet 16. I forget why I put this tree here. I think it was it held its apples long, but I have enough trees out here that hold their apples long. Honeycrisp, Rome, Golden Delicious. So I think I'll replace this tree. It's got a prime spot here. It gets some of the first morning sunlight, as you can see. It's about 9 o'clock, and the sun is just peeking up over the trees. So this orchard doesn't get a lot of sun. I have the trail camera over here. Watching the Honeycrisp tree, it was a favorite tree of this possum that was coming into my orchard. So here's my trail camera in the Golden Delicious tree, and it points straight toward the Honeycrisp tree. And okay, let me show you the possum. And as you can see, he got in the trap, got stuck, and he's no longer causing problems in the orchard. The Rome tree, the apples are bigger this year. It's survived a serious girding from years past. I always make note of that. See that on the very bottom, right about there. It survived, and it healed over all the way around, except in one small spot, which I'm sure will fill in. A lot of the top of the tree and the tips died back, but the deer seem to like this tree a lot too, although they go after the gala first. the Golden Delicious is pretty well loaded, and that top. Second, let me look at the top. Top of that tree is loaded with apples, as you can see, and I'm surprised it hasn't bent over. But I guess the central leader is big enough. This central leader, I think I will take off approximately right about there, 8 or 9 feet next year. I really don't want the tree to bend over. When you plant a tree, it's delicious to bend over. This soil here is really light, it's all sand, and if that tree started to bend over, I'm afraid the whole tree might tip and uproot somewhat, especially to deal with deer pulling on it. So I'm going to keep the trees a little shorter. Over here in the south end of the orchard is the red court, and it had very few blossoms this year. Let's see if I can find it. There's a buggy apple. These apples are bigger than in the last few years. In the red court, not quite ripe yet, as you can tell. There we go. A Cortland will come off pretty easy when it's ripe. But yeah, that's a little redder than my Cortland up at the house. Let me shine that up a little bit. That's nice. Let's try it. Not bad. Kind of a thick skin. This is a McCowan tree, probably a bad choice for a deer orchard, but because the apples tend to drop easy and all at once when they get ripe, they tend to be all different sizes if you don't thin them, and they're not going to get as much care out here. See these brown leaves? These are from possums and raccoons climbing the tree and breaking spurs off all up the tree, breaking off my spurs. These aren't as well colored as the McCowans up in my front yard. All in all, though, the deer have lots to pick from what I give them. The Honeycrisp, I will take this tree here and this tree over here. I'll leave any buggy ones still on it. The other trees, the Fuji, they didn't get sprayed well when they were way at the top of the tree anyway, and they're kind of small. I think I'll let those hang. Those will be for the deer. That's a Fuji too. So the deer will get some, and I'll get some. Now it's time to put out the trap. And there's the trap all set now. I put it here next to the Honeycrisp tree because I want to keep the deer away from the Honeycrisp tree. The trap often smells of dead raccoons and dead possums, so the deer kind of, and it's being moved around the orchard. Because the trap is moved around the orchard, whenever the deer come into the orchard, they're always a little suspicious. Why is that thing there? It never used to be there, you know. So they're kind of a little curious, but always suspicious. So they'll kind of stay away from the Honeycrisp tree and leave it alone. And if any critters need some apples and they go in there, well, that's the last I'll see of them. I think I've cleared the orchard of 4 or 5 raccoons and 1 possum. So I think that's good. That's the first time I've had problems with a lot of destroying pests like that. So it's working. I'm happy about that. Okay, time to go check out get this trail camera pictures out of here and check out a couple of the trail cameras. A note to self here. This is a Sun Fuji. All my Sun Fuji this year, whether up at the house, that's only about a 2-inch apple. whether up at the house or here on this tree, they're all small this year. And I'm wondering why. I mean, the one up at the house, I thought, well, I didn't thin it enough. This one, though, it didn't set much. It didn't need to be thinned. There's hardly any apples up here. You know, maybe a couple dozen on the whole tree. So the question is, when this tree doesn't grow a large apple, even though it's had as much rain and water as the Honeycrisp, which is loaded, and a Fuji will get 3 inches in diameter. The question I have to ask is, why? Why so small this year? And I'm going to make a guess. I'm going to guess that July and August was fairly dry, and I'm thinking that that's when the Fuji puts on most of its size. Some apples, like the Honeycrisp, they put on their size late, end of August, September. Fuji put on most of their size, I think, if I remember correctly, more in the early summer. So if it's not, if it's too dry, they never get the water they need to get big. And the Fuji, or the Honeycrisp here, the Honeycrisp, since it does it late, it sizes up late. It doesn't need. It usually gets the water it needs. That's what it does. There's always a couple apples that get rotten. Starts with a bug or something. Well, if a possum gets trapped in there, he's going to last for a week. I see one wormy apple up there, but that tree looks in pretty good shape.